Hello and welcome here to the Business Acceleration Formula Call. Shreya Banerjee and I are going to be talking all about the scalability formula. So we're going to talk about how to unlock the secrets of true business growth. So what we're going to do is we're going to dive in and talk all about how you can scale and grow your business. And so really this is the point where you're going to grow your business. So at this point, what you want to focus on is getting your business to the point where you can actually scale it, because you don't have a business you can scale unless you have sales coming in and leads coming in. So at this point, this is why this is number 9 and not number 1, because we have to establish everything else we've covered in the previous 8 sessions to get to this point. Now we've been to this point. That's why we've actually been to the spot where we've doubled, tripled, quadrupled, our business and then some, right? So, but in order to get to there, you have to have something to scale, because you can't scale zero. So we got to focus on, everything else we teach, which is we've already covered the basics. We've covered everything you need to know, even though it's very repetitive. We've covered everything you need to know. And there's a reason it's been so repetitive, because this is what we do with our business. And this is what Business Acceleration Formula is all about. It's accelerating your path to success, because we've taken all of our years of experience and drilled it down into just a few trainings to help you grow and scale. So we're going to go through and teach these next, I started actually at the wrong spot here. 1 second. All right, we'll go back here. There it is. Okay. So we're going to go into several things we're going to cover. So what is scaling? Where to start with your scaling strategy? What should you focus on? And then strategic partnerships, and finally, automation. We're actually going to share 3 or 4 of our favorite automation tools, because automation is the key to scaling and growing your business. That's actually been a big part of ours. So first off, let's dive into what actually is scaling and what does that look like. So scaling is really exponentially growing your revenue. So that could be to take your business from 2 times, 3 times, 5 times or more your revenue, what you're doing. So let's say you're doing $1,000 a month with your business, or let's say you're doing 10,000 a month. If you were to double that, that would be an example of scaling it. Now, how are you going to get to that point where you can double, triple, and 5x your business? Now, the reason we all love to have our own online business and have our own business is because of the fact that we can control the revenue that we make, right? Because none of us, it's very difficult if you have a regular 9-to-5 job to go into your boss and say, hey, could you triple my salary? Like, that's just not going to happen, But as a business owner, we have that power where we can put in a little more effort to try to double, triple, quintuple our numbers. So these are also tasks that you can perform to increase your business income and bottom line dramatically. And the reason I'm spelling it out this way is because a lot of times you hear marketers say, I'm going to scale my business, and they say it like they're all elite and special and all this. And it drives me nuts, because so many people in this spot that are brand new, they don't know what that even means. Like, what does that even mean? Like, they're just trying to take their first steps, let alone start sprinting towards scaling. And I think it gets them on this little moral high horse or whatever they're on that makes them feel special, because they can use that word. So I'm trying to break it down so we can understand that it's really that simple. It's not complex, and those people are not, it's not a complex thing. It's just a matter of focusing your efforts so that you can get and achieve that growth for your business. So anything you want to add on that, Shreya?
I wanted to say that a lot of times when we create products, we don't have scaling in mind, and it's okay because we're covering this very later after you've already created the products. But if you haven't gotten that far, or, it's a good point to now go back and look at what you've already created to say, okay, can this be scaled? So anything that's an info product can very easily be scaled. Anything that doesn't require your 100% of your time, because you only have 24 hours in a day. So for example, coaching is very hard to scale unless you have coaches under you, and then people are coming in, or you're doing group coaching is very easy to scale, but one-on-one coaching is very hard to scale because you don't have enough time in the day. So those are some things to keep in the back of the mind as you're designing your funnel and all the products within your company, to say what is scalable and what isn't, and then kind of focus on the things that is scalable, and that's what's going to give you the biggest bang for the buck.
Yep, absolutely. And that's actually a really good way to look at it, for sure. That's really huge. Now, where do you start scaling your business? Now, we already have covered up to this point where you even begin, right, with your business. And that's knowing your audience, going through all the customer avatar piece, knowing your marketing plan, knowing your process, knowing your traffic sources, all those types of things. But now we're going to focus on, where does scaling start? And I know this seems crazy and this sounds like a lot of woo woo and things like that. But the reality is, this is the fact. Like, you have to determine in your mind that you're ready to scale and you're going to focus and do whatever it takes to get to that point of doing this. Now, we're in the process of trying to do this with a couple of different brands, and we're actually following the same formula. So we're teaching exactly what we're doing. And I know our slides seem simple. I know our presentation seems simple, but the reality is, the business world, even though it's complex to get going, it really is just repeating the same things over and over again until we get it right. Unfortunately, there's no magic pill or magic button that's going to speed that along. But scaling really does start in your mind. And so we need to have the mindset in order to scale. Now, you have to determine and be ready to make it happen. So you have to determine, like, hey, I'm ready to take my business to that next level. I'm ready to grow. And you want to set clear, obtainable goals. Now, Shreya, can you give some examples of clear, obtainable goals and what that looks like?
Yeah, they're SMART goals, right? Where very specific, attainable goals that you're trying to reach. Scaling is a good high level goal, but then you have to break everything down in a smaller chunks almost to say, okay, I'm going to make this happen. I'm going to have all the courses uploaded here, right? I'm going to get my ads going or free traffic going because I'm going to take these steps. So it's very important to have the process down, and you have to sit down and write the process out. We actually did this last week for a couple of things where we are trying to scale that particular piece of the business. And we wrote down each of the steps that are needed to get there. And the one that we were doing was for SEO articles. And we have a process down. We can't sit and write the articles for these products. So what are the tools? I mean, it's not just people, but it's also the tools that you use that you could use to get you the results that you want. So one SEO article that we actually teach this in the AI process is, how do we write this? What's the process? Who's going to do what piece? So once you have that process in very detail done, then it's just repeat, right? Rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. If you watch our AI presentation, we kind of walk you through that, but we have a person who kind of goes through, we do the keyword research. That's all we are involved in. We do the keyword research and say, write articles in this. We give it to a team member. They use the AI process to write the article. They optimize it. We get it proofread by somebody else, and then it comes back to us for a final say. So we're not really in the process, but we see the beginning and the end, and everything else is mapped out. So that's where you have to, like, if you want to scale, you're going to have to create these processes for little tasks within your business that you can hand off to somebody, because you can't do it by yourself. You're going to have growing pains, but it's just a part of the process, and they're part of, growing and scaling. So have a 3 to 6 to 12 month plan of where you want to be, and then always go back and check, did I make it? If I didn't make it, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. What are the things I need to change, right, to make it? Or did I do amazing and went even over? So I need to redo my 12-month plan because I'm ahead my schedule. So these are all moving pieces, but they do need to be done.
Yeah, it's a really good point. And then it's really just focusing in the efforts. Now we're going to show you what efforts you want to be focusing on. And it really is not going to come to a surprise to anybody watching this, because it's the same process we've been teaching, but we're going to show you, break it down in a little different way so that it hits. Like, you're going to see that we're teaching the same thing, just different ways every single session, because a lot of our business growth is the same thing, and it's just instilling it in your mind and looking at it differently. And so our goal with this is that when you hear a guru, an expert, somebody else talk about scaling, growing their business, that you realize it's not this big scary thing. It's actually something pretty simple. It's just repeatedly doing the same things and setting obtainable goals. Like, it's just not realistic to set goals that say, if you're doing 1,000 a month and say that in 6 months you want to be doing 100,000 a month, like, that's just not an obtainable goal. So, it's not that it isn't obtainable. It's just that it's very difficult, and you're going to get very
not realistic.
It's not realistic, right?
Yeah, for the majority, it's not realistic.
Yeah, so it's looking at little things like, okay, I'm doing 1,000 a month. My goal by month 6 is that we're doing 2,000 a month, or you're doing $100 a month. Your goal is to do $300 a month, right? By month 6. Like that's an obtainable goal. That's something where it's like, oh, wow. Okay, I can start to see growth. I can start to see movement. I'm doing the right thing. I made my first few sales. I see that this is starting to work. Let's just do a little bit more of what's working and continue down that path. And that's really what it's all about. So whether you're brand new or whether you're, already advanced in business that's doing 10,000 a month, let's say, and you want to get to that next level, it's all the same process. It really is. And I know that might seem silly to some, but it's the exact same process, whether you're at $50 a month or you're at 50,000 a month, you're going to scale the same way. You're just going to refocus your efforts and your energy to get there. Now, what do you focus on? Now, the word focus, I actually really like this graphic. That's why I used it. It says follow one course until successful. Follow one course of action until successful. Now, your course of action could be the course of action I would recommend for anybody looking to scale or grow their business is going to be building leads. Like that's the one, course of action that I would follow. Now, there's multiple ways to build your leads, but it's one focus, right? So when I finally realized, and I didn't even know, to be honest, when I grew my business, I had no clue it was called scaling. I just knew that I was doing something repeatedly that was getting me results. So I did not even know what I was doing. I didn't even know the term. I just knew that I was doing something, got results, and I kept seeing massive growth in my business. And I was going from 5,000 a month to 10,000 a month to 50,000 a month. And I was going, wow, this is crazy, and then it kept growing. And then I started to realize I was just following one course of action, which was building leads. So I focused on lead generation. That was it. So I had one focus. Now I had 5 or 6 different ways to build those leads, right? Different traffic methods and streams, but my focus was building leads. And so the reason I say that is because even though we teach Google Ads, we love SEO, we teach all these things, you really can't always rely on just one traffic source because you're only one algorithm change away from just being without traffic, And so some of the time people get so laser focused where they're like, I'm just going all in on this one traffic stream. And then what happens is the Google slap happens, the Facebook slap happens, the whatever slap happens that you hear marketers and gurus talk about. And, Penguin update and this update with SEO. I mean, it's constant. And so, business is not easy. In fact, it's ironic that Google uses marketers, Facebook uses marketers, Microsoft uses marketers to make their revenue, but we're the first people they slap and, make difficult on. So it's kind of this weird power struggle we're on where it's like they'll use us to get ahead, but the second we start having too much success, they're going to smack you down. And that's just what it is. So that's why I advise make your focus one thing, which is leads. Every business needs leads. There's not a business in the world that can survive without leads, right? And so, leads could be a customer lead, even like an e-commerce store where they go and buy, but even e-commerce stores, what is it that they focus on? Even the apps right now, like Temu and all these apps that are selling like, apparel for super cheap. One thing they're always focused on is capturing the email address so that you can get more discounts and more savings. E-commerce brands do this constantly.
They don't even let you look at the products until they have your email address. That's the lead magnet they're using is their own products. So that's a good example to use if you can incorporate that into your business. Like they don't even let you see what cool thing you just clicked on their ad unless you have an account.
Yep, absolutely. And it's just their way of forcing a lead because these big brands, these small brands, I mean, the biggest brands online know the power of the lead. I mean, that's why Amazon does it constantly. Like if you want to have a Prime deal or you want to get the special sales, you've got to have an account. They know the power of a lead, and we need to realize the power of a lead. Now, we've talked about this throughout the entire process here, Business Acceleration Formula. So this is not new to anybody, but if you're going to scale your business, what do you need more of? You need more leads. And so my story here is simply when I realized that was the one thing I needed to focus on, that's when my business grew. And so I don't care what niche market you're going after, focus on those leads. And even if you have multiple like funnels or multiple ways to build those leads, always know that the end result is getting leads. And then eventually to really grow and add to that baseline, we're actually launching our continuity part of our business. We've actually had continuity offers through different coaching programs, different things. I've had a real coaching club years ago. We had different continuity offers, but that was one of the keys to scale because what a continuity offer does, that means residual commissions. So that could be like a membership site. That could be like a product, like let's say a supplement, for example, that we sell that would be on like a recurring order so that every month these supplements are sent out. But that creates a baseline of revenue, which allows you to breathe a little bit so that you can, instead of having to focus on paying your bills and covering, what it takes to achieve success, you're able to go out there and have something come in on a monthly consistent basis. Like, so a continuity offer is key. It does not matter. It could be a coaching offer. It could be some semblance of an offer that brings in recurring revenue. There's multiple forms of continuity. One of the examples that we have, we get paid on the 1st and 15th of every single month from ClickFunnels. We get that coming in as continuity. So we recommend products as an affiliate. And so finding products you can recommend as an affiliate that pay you residual commissions, that's one way to have continuity. The beautiful part about that is that you don't even have to create the continuity, right? It's there. You just have to promote it and be adamant about promoting it. So continuity efforts are great because you can build leads and then you can send those people into a continuity offer of some sort. Maybe it's an affiliate program that you get recurring commissions on. Maybe it's a membership site where you're adding more value and teaching people more concepts and more things. Maybe it's Q&A programs. Maybe it's personal coaching that you're doing and you get people on a monthly rebill of a few $1,000s a month. So we've done all these models. And the beautiful part about it is that even when your regular sales are down, your continuity keeps that baseline there so you can continue to grow. And then you get incremental growth as your continuity grows, as you get more people in the referral pipeline, as you get more members, those types of things. So think about how you can add continuity to your business. That's going to be one of the keys to scaling. One of the most important aspects we can focus on is going to be, continuity offers and having that. And those are going to be very critical. In fact, we'll cover that in one of our future sessions. It's going to be all on continuity offers and how to find them and land them, because that's a key to your long-term success in your business. Now, maximizing your conversion rates, that's the other thing you can control. So our landing page for, let's say, Six Figure Insider that we send a lot of traffic to, and even the landing page for like the supplement offers or things we're promoting, we are focused heavy. As much as other people may not want you to focus on that, or you don't, like when we work with clients, one of the biggest things we focus on for our clients was how do we get the traffic that we're already seeing to convert better? Because if you can do that, you're going to see growth and scale in your business. So for example, if your sales page for your product or offer is converting at 1%, let's just say, and you get that to convert at 2%, which is actually very reasonable because a great conversion rate is 5 to 10%. Like that's a great conversion rate for a sales page. So if you go from 1% to 2%, you're still below, you're about, average, below average, whatever. So you're not at that great level. There's still room to grow. But what did you just do? With the same amount of traffic, you took your numbers from 1% to 2%. That's doubling your business, right? And then you go to 2% to 3%. Now you're at 3 times your business from where you were. So that's how you can scale, and that's maximizing conversion rates. And we did a whole session on conversions and all that, where we covered that. So that's something to go back and watch, because we talked about some of the tools we use, what we look at when we're trying to improve conversions, how to, what swipes to use, AI tools, whatever it is, but again, it boils back to the number one thing we teach, which is your customer avatar. If you don't know your audience, you can't maximize those conversions. And so every offer we're doing, we're still learning and tweaking and trying to improve our conversions, because if we can improve our conversions just a little bit, we make our sales go through the roof. Now, with that said, when we were working with clients, they hate that part of it. Clients absolutely hate that part of it because it's not sexy, it's not fun, it's not exciting, it's not, there's not 100 posts going up on social media, which makes them think you're doing marketing, right? And that think you're doing marketing doesn't do anything, but getting results is what counts. That's what we focus on. So we focus on maximizing conversion rates with everything we do. That means fixing the headline, fixing the subheadline, fixing the videos, doing whatever it takes to get our audience to convert better, because that's the easiest way to scale with the same amount of traffic. That means you don't have to put in that much more effort to get more traffic. You have to put in that much more effort to get it to convert better. So if you want to scale, if you double your conversion from 1% to 2% even, or let's say your opt-in rate from 20% to 40%, you've now doubled your business. You doubled your lead flow. You doubled your business. So that's a perfect example of scaling. We have a whole session on conversions that we already covered. So, but that's a key part of it. You have to do that, because you can have all the traffic in the world, but if it's not converting, what good was that?
Exactly. And one thing on the conversion piece, like do things that will make your offer convert. Don't just think about pretty things, right? When it comes to conversion, pretty doesn't normally always convert. So if something's misaligned, but it's converting great, like don't try to change it to alignment because that might not. And it's these tiny tweaks. It's sometimes very, very tiny tweaks that kind of make your conversion rate go up. We did share our most converting page ever, which looks like it was created way back in the day, and it was. But that's the one that converts the best. So keep that in mind when you're tweaking these things, that pretty doesn't always mean higher conversions.
Yeah, it does. It does not. And so that's something to keep in mind. And the other thing is and again, you're never going to get perfect conversion rate. So I do want to stop people there because you could go crazy on conversions and try to be like, okay, I got to get the best conversion, but get to a reasonable level. If you know that, and if you're using ClickFunnels or tools like that, they're pretty easy to see what your conversion rate is, because all the conversion rate is how many visitors came to your website. You can also use Google Analytics for this. Google, you don't even need fancy tools for this. You can use Google Analytics and Stripe. Like, you don't need fancy tools. If you have ClickFunnels, they automatically will track this for you as well, which is beautiful. But all you need to do is look at how many visits did I get and how many sales did I make from those visits. And if you do that, then you're going to find that that's what your conversion rate is. So 100 visitors and 2 sales is a 2% conversion rate on a sales page. On an opt-in page, 100 visitors and 25 opt-ins is a conversion rate of 25%, right? So now you know your baseline. That's all you have to do is determine that. So you're just simple math. And that's to the extent of the math I like to do. So I joke with people, I failed math 4 times in college, and then finally realized college was not for me, went on to be an entrepreneur. And that's just, what it was. But part of it was because I didn't see the need for a lot of that math, because I'll never use that in my life, but I'll use the basics: add, subtract, multiply, divide, percents, know what a conversion rate is. That's all you need to know for business. But Pythagorean theorem, that's a whole nother, nobody needs that unless you're building a building. So, so anyway, I digress. But traffic and conversions, that's all you have to do. In fact, there's a whole summit called Traffic and Conversion that's out there. And it's all a business is. And I laugh at the name of that event. It's called TNC. We've probably all heard about it. But what's great about it, I laugh at the simplicity of it, because a bunch of gurus get together and they share, from stage, like, oh, I'm scaling. And they use big terms like ROAS and all these big acronyms that people don't know, right? And at the end of the day, it all comes back to, it's the most simplest thing ever. Get more traffic and convert that traffic. That's it. Like, that's how you scale and grow a business. That's how you truly grow. And so we know how to get traffic. We've all seen that slide. We've covered the marketing formula. We've covered traffic methods and ways to get traffic. So traffic, that's important. And get your conversions to an optimal level, meaning like it's reasonable. Like, okay, if my sales page is converting at less than 1%, that's terrible. Okay, let's fix that. Let's fix that before we try to get more traffic, because then you're just wasting money, because traffic's not cheap, both on the time it takes to get traffic, the energy it takes to get traffic, the energy it takes to recruit partners to get traffic, all the stuff. It takes time, money, and energy to get traffic. So why not focus on something that's controllable, which is your conversions, get that set, and then focus on the traffic, and take all the time you need to get that conversion right, because it does take time, to get it right. And if you rush things, it doesn't come out the best. And so traffic is critical to your success as well, because once you get that conversion, then you go back to what we talked about at the top, which is building leads, and you get leads from traffic. So how many different ways can you get traffic? Now, if you know your customer avatar, you know where they're hanging out, and we've covered traffic methods. And then it comes down to rinsing and repeating. The same thing: build leads, get them into your continuity offer or program, or multiple. We have multiple continuity. We have a coaching program, we have a group coaching program, and we have affiliate offers. So we have multiple continuities, and that's what drives our business and keeps us going. And then maximize your conversion rates, and then get traffic, and then rinse and repeat that again and again and again. So maybe do a monthly audit on your conversion rate and see if you can improve it just a little bit. Because even a 0.25% conversion rate increase will actually mean more money in your pocket. So it's the little things. Little things add up to big wins, and that's what we want to focus on.
Keep in mind, the leads that you're collecting, you can start driving affiliate traffic to that as well, like affiliate product traffic. So you don't have to wait for a certain point as soon as you're collecting the lead after you're done selling your product, have it in a mix every 6 months, but you can start pushing affiliate products to that.
That's a really good point. You can push affiliate offers. You can, again, you don't have to have your own products. It could be related, relevant products, which add up. And a form of continuity is your email list too. I'm glad you mentioned your email list, because a form of continuity is if you have an email list, then you can actually send, whatever offers out to that list, even if it's not a continuity offer, because not all affiliate programs are continuity offers, but you eventually know that. I mean, a big part of our growth in our business has been having an email list, because even if it's a one-off promotion, we still get that consistent income coming in. And that's a form of continuity because we have that list. So that's why it all boils down to build the leads, build the leads, build the leads. And don't get discouraged too if you have lead flow, but you're not seeing sales right away, because it's just a matter of tweaking things. And it takes multiple exposures. People are busy. Like, let's face it, like they may not click the first time you send out your email. So you need to send it 5 times before they get the idea that this is something worth jumping on. And so that's the other part about business that I think a lot of people lose out on, is it's the whole mindset of, I don't want to be that guy that emails my list. Well, I'll tell you, if somebody else is going to be that guy or gal and they're going to email your list, because a lot of times in this space, let's be honest, we're on multiple people's email lists. I mean, that's just, well, in any industry. I mean, Amazon shares the same email list as, overstock.com. Some of the same people shop at the same retailers. So it's not like just a small myopic view in the internet marketing world or the weight loss world or whatever. It's the same way for the big conglomerates too. Amazon, Target, you name it. They're all vying for people's attention. And they also know, in fact, if you're on Target's email list, you're going to get emailed every single day,
multiple times a day. Sometimes all they do is change the subject line and the content's the same, right? Because I open it and I go, this is deja vu. I've seen this email before, but it's brand new. And we've done that too. Actually, one of your better converting emails, we send it to the people that haven't opened, but just change the subject line for it. And it works really good. That's a good trick.
Yeah, it's a really good strategy to do that, because a lot of the big companies, Best Buy is really famous for this. I've seen Target do this. Amazon does this. They literally will send the exact same email, just a different subject line. And they actually don't even care if I've already opened it. I've seen the same thing, go, wow, I just saw this yesterday. And that's because they know the power of the email. They also know that if they don't send that email out, if Amazon doesn't send that email out, Target will, and they know that. So they're not dumb. So we need to also be smart with their own business and realize, like, at the end of the day, if nobody wants to hear your emails, there's a nice unsubscribe button. And I'm okay with that. Like, if you don't want to hear from me, hit that unsubscribe and exit, because our relationship isn't going to work here then. So if they don't want to hear from me, there's an unsubscribe button. I used to get upset and all of my feels about, an unsubscribe and all that. And I don't even know why I used to feel that way. Now, I actually love the philosophy. Grant Cardone has this philosophy, which I absolutely love. And it's basically like, if you're not getting a certain number of opt-in or opt-outs a day, you're not emailing hard enough. And I love that philosophy. That's actually a strategy I have now. I can't unsubscribe people fast enough if they send a nasty gram about an email I sent, because you don't want that, people. It's just dead weight. It costs you money to hold those people anyway. So let them go. If they want to go, unsubscribe them and don't worry about it. So make sure you're just reaching people that want to hear from you. And that's the key to success, is constantly putting yourself out there. So it's one thing to build the leads. It's another thing to get those, conversion rates up and get traffic. Then it's another thing to follow up with those people. We cover that all the time, the importance of it right here in our formula. So again, it's not a business acceleration formula call without this slide. So it's right here. This is it. I mean, we just listed how do you scale and grow your business. We've been covering this the whole time, right? It's the same process. You're just going to rinse and repeat this over and over again. Now, again, you're not using all these traffic sources. You're going to choose the couple that make sense for you. Some people, it's just Facebook ads and Google ads. Some people, it's SEO with their own blog, and then it's Facebook linked ads in there. Or some people are just straight Google ads and Microsoft. But it does not matter what your traffic stream is. At the end of the day, it's all the same process. How many leads can you get? And then funnel those emails to your main product, your upsell, and to your continuity, and then to your high ticket offer, coaching program offer, things like that. That's how ClickFunnels is built. That's how ClickBank is built. I mean, the list of the big companies out there that are doing this repeatedly, it's the same thing. Amazon even does funneling people to subscription offers. Like they are really key. Like if you buy any kind of a supplement or anything from Amazon, they're really good at saying, hey, how about you ship and save, and like you can save 10% on every single order that comes in if you subscribe and save, or subscribe and save, I think is what they call it, whatever it is. But it's all continuity.
Amazon Prime is a prime example there, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's a subscription model.
Yep. Absolutely. No, it's a great subscription
Any
model.
big wholesalers, Costco, Sam's Club, they make majority of their money through subscriptions and not the actual products they sell. So that's the power of subscriptions.
Yeah. So like Costco's model, a lot of people don't realize it, and Amazon is they know that there's a certain number. Cause I've always wondered, I'm like, okay, how can Amazon offer free shipping and all this stuff? Like, but then you realize like there's some people that use it all the time and there's other people that barely use it. So it's really just a numbers game to them. And like Costco and Sam's Club, their margins are so razor thin, like they're making a little bit of money, but it all comes down to those memberships. And so they also know that there's going to be, they might sell 1 million memberships, which I know they have a lot more than that, but let's just example. They have 1 million memberships sold, and they know that of those memberships, there's only going to be 20% of the people that really use it heavy, and 80% casually go in or don't go in at all. They just feel good because they have the membership, right? And so they're collecting those dues over and over again. It's very similar to the gym model. Gyms have the same model as well, where they know that, okay, at the beginning of the year, they do a big drive. Everybody's got weight loss goals, this and that. And they're, and a lot of gyms are lower price points. Some of the bigger ones are like $10 a month, $20 a month. And so they're like, all right, we're going to get a bunch of people on it. And we know that in 3 months, hardly anybody's going to be in here from that. We're only going to be serving 20, 25% of those people. And we're just collecting dues from the rest. And, because nobody wants to cancel that membership because they might use it, I might use a gym, or somebody's gonna come visit. We can all go together, whatever, like they're not going to cancel it because it's not that expensive. But what is the goal there? Get them on a continuity, I mean, that's really what a lot of businesses do. And that's how they grow and get you to that next level. So every business has the same model. And then it's just a matter of rinsing and repeating. How many sources of traffic can I get to build my leads? That's what it boils down to. And then how do I convert those leads? And that's really what business is in a nutshell. And I know it's more complex than that, because getting the traffic, it still takes time, and there's technical pieces, but that's what Business Acceleration Formula is focused on, is keeping the process simple. Because if you get the process, I mean, one of the keys to scaling that I did not include is having a proven process, right? Like if we didn't have a process, Raya, we would not scale, correct?
No, yeah. You can't be everywhere. You can't do everything. That's one thing you have to kind of keep in mind as you're scaling. There are parts of your business that you're going to have somebody else do. And that's why it's very important to have that process. So things get done at the same rate, the same type, and you get consistent results. Because if you don't have a good process, you're not going to get consistent results.
Yeah, and that brings us to the, oh, go ahead, sorry.
One last thing on that last slide, where it said main products or upsells or downsells, right? Either one can be a continuity product. You could drive traffic directly to your main product, which is a continuity, or if you're selling something as a one-off, then your upsell could be a continuity. So keep those in mind as well as you're designing this entire thing out for your business.
Yeah, it's a really good point, is really keep that in mind as you are starting to grow it. It could be really anything that you could slide in there. So that's a great point. And then strategic partnerships, that goes right in line with what you were just saying, is having partnerships with people that help you. Or another way of strategic partnerships might be, hiring help as you grow and get your business to that next level, which we finally got to that point in the last few years. And so you do need help at times. Now, you do not need help right out of the gate. Like, yes, it would be nice, but a lot of times people, I think, get upside down too. Because I actually was in the room with people, and I used to be anti a lot of the, getting help for my business, as Shreya knows. It used to be a battle, where I was like, nope, dragging my feet, like, no, we don't need it. And I think part of it was because I witnessed people consistently do it wrong. Everything in business can be done the right way or the wrong way. And you can grow too fast or get too much, so there's that balance, right? It's all a balance. Like we reached a point where we had to have help. Like it was a must, we need it, but there are times in your business where just because you, like, I literally have been at events, then we heard this with our clients. I couldn't even believe my eyes, was there's literally people that make it a badge of honor to say how many VAs they have, virtual assistants. Like, I mean, are you kidding me? Like, why is that a badge of honor? Like literally touting around, I've got 10 VAs. And I knew their revenue numbers and I was running circles as a solopreneur without VAs, because you can have all the virtual assistants in the world, but if you don't have them doing the right task, or you don't, or if your processes are broken, what good is a VA for you? Like, what are they doing for you then? You know? So there's that balance act, right? So you can go too fast. You also don't need 10 of them. And also, another key to scale that I will point out right now that I did not put in here is ignore the noise, ignore the outside noise, ignore what other people are doing. It's easy to get distracted by what other people are saying. Well, and be like, oh man, I see Susie Q over here is just killing it, or John over here is doing amazing, or this and that, whatever, right? And you can get all upset and feel like, ugh, you know, like I could be doing better. I could be more like this person. And that's, you know, gets in your, it's brain fog that you don't need. And so it could be easy to get caught up in that, but just focus on what you're doing. Don't worry about what they're doing. Like, we worked with some people that were doing very well. They were paying us top dollar to be their marketing consultants, talking 5 figures a month, right? And they were so focused on what somebody else was doing because somebody else had 20 VAs or whatever, and they thought they needed that many. And when they didn't, their business did not need it. And the other person, frankly, didn't even need that either. But they were worried so much about what other people were doing, and they thought that was a key to growth. And it's not. Just more people doesn't mean more revenue. Because if you could have 100 people, but if they're doing a task that doesn't make sense or grow your business, then it doesn't matter. So really get the process down and then look at getting help or partnerships that make sense and fit your business. And so you can either outsource help, or you can do strategic partnerships, which is what we've done really well at, but we've also now outsourced our help as well. And we'll do a whole topic on outsourcing. Like, that's a whole subject for this call. So we've got conversions and outsourcing are going to be two big, or not conversions. We're going to do continuity and outsourcing will be two of the topics that we'll be covering, because those are going to be big. Okay. So the key to growth is strategic partnerships, or what we call it OPA, other people's audience. So OPA, you know, you can think about throwing the plates down, but other people's audience, like that's what it is. So there's 5 different ways to grow with OPA. One is referrals, partners. So that would be where other people refer your business out. They talk about your business, your strategic partner. We formed alliances with our agency with many different people where we are, they send us referrals on a constant basis because we've proven reliable. And so then they send us new referrals and new partners. And so word of mouth marketing, it's the easiest thing to close. So we've put ourselves in position by constantly providing value to form these partnerships. Now, there's a reason scaling and growing your business is session number 9, because you're not going to be at that point where you're probably going to be accepting referrals until you've done sessions 1 through 8 and get that down pat, right? But eventually you're going to get to the point where people will refer you out and they will put their badge of trust on you with their following and their audience as you grow your business. Does not matter what niche you're in, it will happen inherently. And so that's referral marketing. So that's more word of mouth. You can offer commissions for it. You don't have to offer commissions for it. We've done both routes, you know, where some people, they wanted a referral fee every time they sent somebody our way. So we had other partners that they didn't even care. They just knew that we were taking care of their people, and that was just as important to them. And so they didn't want anything. And so every deal is structured different. But what happens is if you have 5 people that are spreading words about you and they're saying, oh, this guy's good, I've worked with him, or they're a good company, all of a sudden that's a great way to grow your business with an audience that you didn't have before, right? And so that's a key to scale too, is getting yourself in front of other people's audience. And another way to do that is through affiliates. And that's more of a cut and dry relationship where it's they're going to send traffic, you're going to pay them a commission. So commissions could be 40%, 50%. If it's a high ticket offer, it could be 10, 20%. Like if it's a service offering, but having a semblance of an affiliate program is really key. And if you have a store on Shopify, let's say you have an e-commerce business on Shopify, then they have a built-in affiliate plugin where you can actually pay people commission to send traffic to your store. ClickBank is another amazing provider for affiliate commissions. Another great one is, so there's ClickBank, there's ClickFunnels has an affiliate program where you can actually set it into your membership sites. Kajabi, programs like that. So there's Kajabi, ClickBank, there's Shopify. WooCommerce has a plugin for tracking affiliate sales. So they all have these tools in place. Now, to us, the best one out there on the market right now is still ClickBank, because of the fact that, especially for somebody that's newer to the business world or even somebody that's established, it's so easy because they handle all the accounting. Now, if you are running a Shopify program or WooCommerce, you have to pay out your affiliates, and then you also, not only do you have to manually pay them out, but you also have to track their tax return, all the tax, not tax returns, but you have to, send out the 1099s or whatever when they've hit a certain threshold of commissions. Like, it's a whole bunch of red tape, right? And it could take a lot of work, whereas ClickBank will do all that for you. And then you just put your product up there. So that's why we recommend ClickBank for affiliates. But affiliates is the number one way we've grown. It's a huge way that we've grown our business. And it's how we've had multiple, 7-figure, businesses where we grew our business from 0 to 7 figures because of affiliates and because of referral partners and those kind of strategies. So business partnerships, those kind of partnerships are huge. This is what Shreya and I did. This is a business partnership where you manage your weaknesses, which I had a lot of weaknesses, and then you focus on your strengths. And Shreya has taught me that. So Shreya, I'll let you speak on that and the power of business partnerships.
Yeah. I think ever since we were kids that we were taught that if you're weak at something, go fix it, like learn more about it, get better at it, and we should to some point, but at some point we need to say, okay, this is our weakness and we need to somehow manage it and focus on what we're really good at. Because if we focus on that, we're going to far excel anybody who's not that great at it, but is doing good, right? Like if you really enjoy doing something and that's your strength, you should really focus on that and understand what your weakness is, but get somebody, hire strategic partnerships, or, have somebody do that. Like both Paul and I have several weaknesses. Taxes is one of them. It's not our favorite. So we have somebody who kind of takes care of all of that, right? We don't spend hours and hours and hours trying to figure that out just because we feel like we need to do everything. So that's why we always say that you want to manage your weakness and you want to focus on your strengths.
Yeah, that's super important. And then strategic, that's very important to us. That's been key to us is, manage those weaknesses, because you can't be a jack of all trades, right? You just can't in your business, especially if you want to grow it and scale it, take it to that next level. So that's important. And then strategic joint ventures is another play. So strategic joint ventures, it's not necessarily like a full-on business partner, but it's somebody that, the best way to describe it would be like Shreya and I started as strategic joint ventures before we became business partners. So it's basically, we did a project together. So it's not like our whole business is intertwined, but we did a project together. And that's what a strategic joint venture is. And so it's somebody that, again, that you manage your weaknesses, focus on your strengths. And I've done a lot of strategic joint ventures. We've done a lot of strategic joint ventures, and we're in the middle of a few of them, right? Launching different supplements and products. And those have been really critical to our success because, we have a strategic joint venture with ClickFunnels, with PLR funnels. That's an example. So ClickFunnels and Marketing Counts, we are partners on one project, right? But we're not partners on everything, right? So that's kind of an example of how that works. And so those strategic joint ventures are very critical to your success, because you get access to OPA, other people's audience, through those joint ventures, or they get access to our audience. Like, it works both ways. And so that's the beauty of a strategic joint venture. And then the other key, which is annoying, neither of us really like this phrase, Shreya and I, because we all want money fast. I don't think there's an entrepreneur in the world that actually probably loves this phrase, but focus on the long game. But that is a reason that we are still here so many years later. There's a lot of people that don't focus on the long game. They might have a large semblance of success right out of the gate, but then it's a marathon, not a sprint, and they are sprinting and now they're exhausted and now they're out of the business completely. So we've been strategically putting partnerships and things in motion for our business on an ongoing basis, focusing on the long game. And by the long game, we mean there might not be a payoff for certain partnerships for a few years, and you have to be okay with that. And I break it down to, this is the easiest thing. I should have put a whole slide together on this, but there's 3 different types of revenue a business should have. And 3 different types of revenue a business should have. And this needs to be a whole little slide on a future call. But there's now revenue. Now every business needs these things. I don't care what business you're in, but you need now revenue, meaning you need money now. Like, you got to keep your lights on, got to pay your bills, pay your employees if you have them. You've got to feed yourself. Like that's important. I can't tell you how many entrepreneurs forget that whole aspect of it. Like if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of your business, like you got to take care of yourself financially. If your electricity's off, you can't build your business. And that's also why I tell people as new entrepreneurs is try to not quit your job. If you have a day job that's paying your bills and keeping you going, and keep that job as long as it's humanly possible to keep that job. Because, when I had a day job for 8 months and realized it wasn't for me, but I also, when I quit, my income at the regular job and my business income was equal. So I actually was okay for me to split apart at that point because I knew that if I put more effort in my business, I could grow. And I also knew that I wouldn't put myself and my family in a really drastically horrible position either. Right. So, yes, you have to take that risk in business, but I don't like that mindset. There's some people that teach that, like no risk, no guts, no glory, whatever. But I'll tell you what, every time I wake up and turn on my computer and don't go to a regular 9 to 5, I am taking a risk, because that's what an entrepreneurship is. It's taking a risk on an ongoing basis. So, okay. So back to the whole thing of the different types of revenue. You have now revenue. Now revenue, every business needs it. That means money now. What can you do to make money now? It means what products are you selling? What services are you offering? What it is that you're doing now to make revenue. Then you have future income. Future income, that is like income for the future. That could be affiliate payouts or products you promote now that pay out in a month from now. It could be the continuity stuff we talked about, meaning like stuff you do now, which brings in future revenue. Or it could be a traffic stream that you get or a lead that you capture in order to drive, sales right now, right out of the gate. So that's one example of that. So that's future income. And then you've got legacy income. Legacy income is things like, how do you create an insane amount of money or partnership that could pay out years and years in advance for your business? And so we've gotten really good at those things. And I think a lot of businesses, they just focus on one. So they're focusing on the now revenue. A lot of times, I'd say most businesses focus on the now revenue because that's present. Like I need money now, I need money now, I need money now. And then they forget about the future revenue, which is, okay, this is great that I have money now, but what do I need to survive 3 to 6 months down the road, right? And keep looking at it as that. And then you've got legacy income, which is that's something that could pay you 5 years, 10 years. That's why you get to have a business like we have that's been in business 20 plus years. And so, and I started when I look younger, but I started when I was 13. So 25 years in this business. So I'm 38 now, 25 plus years doing the internet business, the same thing. And it's really, really important. So this is what we've had to do is focus on the long game. So we've done partnerships. When I say long game, we've done partnerships with like Washington DECA, but that did not pay us out. We got $0 from it, not a penny from it, but we gained credibility that nobody else can touch in the business world. And that is that we have curriculum in 140 high schools. And so automatically that makes us different from any marketing trainers. We teach marketing in 140 different high schools from one training, and it goes out to all these different schools. And so that's something we have. It's a claim to fame we have that no other marketing agency could have, or person teaching business. So point is, we had to view that as a long game because it led to a lot of future revenue for us and partnerships. It actually got the attention of some of our biggest partners out there because they're like, wow, you guys did what? So then it helped them realize. And so that's what we mean by focus on the long game. It's not sexy. It's not attractive. But if you want to be in business 5, 10, 20 years from now, you got to focus on that as well, because there's going to be those partnerships that maybe don't pay out now, but they'll pay out a year from now or 2 years from now or 10 years from now. And so that's what we call legacy income. So think of those income brackets: now income, future income, like next few months income, like what do you need to survive the next few months, and then legacy income. And that future income can come from continuity programs and things like that. So that's the focus there. Now, growing with other people's audience, that is going to be key. And how do you meet these people? Where do you go to meet these people? So that is something that we've done really well at, and that is live events. And we actually have already covered this to some extent on some of our trainings, but we're bringing it up again because, again, we're going back repetition. We're going to keep teaching this stuff until it hits home. This is what we do. We just came back from funnel hacking. We were just there. We've been in Mexico. We've done Boise, Idaho a few times. We've done Orlando. At the end of the day,
we met at a live event.
We met at a live event. That's how this whole partnership started.
Right.
Our core partners are all from live events and industry events and going out meeting people. So look for the industry events that are in your area. Look, one of our clients, it's brilliant what he does. He is in the fan industry, industrial ceiling fans, and he was telling me his core strategy, the way he gets a lot of his sales. And again, this is the OPA strategy. So these are people that will feature his products, meaning like they might have a catalog or they might have a website or whatever the case is, and they will be a vendor for his fans. And so it's kind of like an affiliate partnership, but they're like a wholesaler in a sense, right? So it's a wholesale partnership. And he goes around to these live events, trade shows, not even like the events where there's speakers there, but he doesn't even go to the events with the speakers. And he just walks the trade room floor. He doesn't even buy a booth. He doesn't even have a booth there. And he goes and walks the trade room floor. He doesn't one day. He doesn't like to be away from his family long. So he's got it figured out to where he can fly in the morning, fly out in the evening, and he will make 10 or so connections throughout that event. And he goes there very intentionally and says, these are the 10 people I want to talk to. And he shares his business card, strikes up a conversation, and then they end up calling him and he has partnerships. Like that's what he does. So he just goes to these events. He's like, this is who I want to talk to. And he pulls up who's going to be there and he's laser focused. All he's doing is walking the trade room floor. So point is, there's so many different live events. We work with some partners and they're constantly going to trade shows and live events, and it pays out so much for them every time they go. Like it's massive what it does for their business. And those live events, you cannot underestimate the power of partnerships, strategic relationships, just being in front of people, showing up consistently. Like that's at the bottom here, but that's what helped our business grow. That's what got us in the partnerships we're in. Whole reason we're doing Business Acceleration Forum is people ask us, how did you guys partner with some of the biggest names in the business and marketing world? Well, it was live events and showing up consistently is one of them. And then adding values to others was big too. But that's key. So go ahead, Treya.
No, I was going to say the same thing. It's showing up consistently. And that's how you make friends, right? Like it has to be fun. You have to enjoy it. So you make friends and you do business with your friends. That's really the trick. That's the magic. You have to be yourself. You're not going to connect with every single person, and don't be offended by that. Like that's okay. It's not the end of the world, but you're going to connect with somebody that's just like you, that you get along with great, and you guys are going to do amazing things, right? With that person. So show up, connect, make friends, and friends do business and do amazing things together.
They really, really do. And that's the key part. That's probably the biggest thing that happens there is, making those friendships. And there's 3 sites you can go to if you don't want to travel far and wide for these meetups and to meet people. We've actually done all 3 of these and they've been highly successful. We've actually made connections that led to business. And there's industry events, the big events in your industry where you have to fly to some of the time, or they might be in your backyard if you're lucky. But there's also the in-person meetups. Those would be meetup.com, Eventbrite, Chamber of Commerce. So meetup.com is a great site for people that are interested in entrepreneurship or something in your local area, or you can find them in any market sector, right? So it's people that want to lose weight, people that want to, do affiliate marketing. It does not matter. There's actually groups for everybody on Meetup. Eventbrite also host live events. A lot of times there's networking events. We've actually been in areas where we had other business to do, but we signed up for an event at Eventbrite, and we made connections with people that started one of the largest companies out there. Like you just don't know who's going to show up at these networking events. And so we're always intentional about meeting people and showing up. Like that's the key. People are like, why, how do you do all this? It's that showing up consistently. If you don't show up, nobody's going to see you. Like it's, pretty straightforward. And then Chamber of Commerce is a big one for businesses, especially if you have a local business, but just being in front of people consistently really starts to add up. And then online groups is another big one. So that would be, managing, I put managing your weaknesses there. I meant to put Facebook in there, but again, it could be you're looking for help to manage your weaknesses in those groups. But Facebook groups are great. Online groups are great for that. Asking for help when you need it is also a great way to engage in conversation, because there's going to be people love to help other people. I know we don't think they do, but people do like to feel important and they like to help others. And so if you have a problem and you have a weakness in your business and you need help with it, join those local groups. And next thing you know, you might find that next strategic partner who's like, look, you have something I don't have, but I have something you don't have. One of my most profitable partnerships from years ago was the Real Guys partnership. And we took that brand from 0 to over 10 million in sales in a few years. And it was all grown through affiliates and strategic partnerships. But the first part of that partnership met this guy named Jeff Wellman at a live event. And Jeff was newer in the business, but he had a big successful launch right out of the gate, but he was struggling with a lot of the tech things. And I had seen his path and we connected, and I'd already been in business for a while. And then he realized, he's like, look, he's like, you've got stuff I have. You know all this tech stuff I don't have a clue about, he's like, and I've got, but here's the difference. He had a bigger email list than I did. So we were like, okay, he had what I didn't have, which was traffic. I had what he didn't have, which was training knowledge and technical knowledge. He had actually used a PLR product to make his big launch. So he didn't even know what he was selling. He had a good success. His son was in the business, but then he was stuck. He was like, I can't make this thing work. He tried to repeat it, couldn't get it to work. So then we formed a strategic bond, a partnership. 2-3 years later, all of a sudden another guy comes into the fold, Eric, and then it just blew from there. But the point was, he had a weakness that I could solve. I had a weakness that he could solve, and then formed a perfect partnership, and then grew and helped the business grow tremendously. But none of that would have happened had I stayed home and not attended this live event. I mean, that's just the point. Shrey and I met at a live event. We did a lot of things with ClickFunnels and ClickBank at live events and showing up consistently. Like, it's, even though we're teaching a business world, an online business to an extent, it's very much an offline business. I mean, my kids still don't understand. They're like, you have an online business, why do you have to travel? Well, you wouldn't have a house over your head if I didn't do that. That's the reality. So meeting people, but being a part of groups like this is important. Business acceleration formula, being able to ask experts help, being able to be there, showing up. Like, you don't have to always just go to live events. That's why I put online groups in there. You can go to Facebook groups, you can go to forums, you can go to websites and hear from these people. But like, there's avenues where you can go reach people. Membership sites are a great way to go. There's a lot of them have community groups, signal groups, WhatsApp groups, things like that. So there's a lot of this online that you can do, but there's only at some point you might want to go to a live event, but at the very least, try to make partnerships in those groups as well. So, and then the other one we keep talking about is adding value to others. So it's having a servant attitude. So what can you do for others first? Not like, what can they give you first? Because it's very difficult to get business. It's, the law of reciprocity. They will reciprocate if you do something nice for them. And so think of ways you can add value. Like, maybe it's testing their offer, tweaking their offer, writing a review or a testimonial, or, there's all these kind of things you can do. One of the things that people have done for us in the past that got our attention was they bought our product, then sent a killer testimonial, because shockingly, very few people do that, but it got us to give them extra attention, help, like we were there for them. And it formed a bond or a friendship, right? And that's something that you can do it's a little thing you can do, but you can add value to others and get on their radar and get help. I mean, that's a small thing, but adding value. So it doesn't have to be something crazy, but you can also see gaps in their business where maybe you could help, but you're not asking for money for that help. You're actually saying, hey, I see this as an opportunity. We could help each other. So those are all important things to keep in mind. But the power of meeting people is so critical to your success. Now, this is Shreya's favorite thing, is automating things and making things go to the next level. And that would be very, very important for you. So let's dive into these. Now, shameless plug, these are all 4 affiliate links right here. Now, I'm giving you 4 different tools we've used, and I practice what I preach. All right. So we said we make money as an affiliate. We recommend products. I used to promote naked affiliate links. That's what that means. That's like the biggest mistake people make, is they go out there and they promote with naked links all the time. They'll just be like, I can't even tell you how many commissions I've probably lost out on by telling people about different website hosting providers or ClickFunnels or other tools, just by rattling off these tools without getting paid, right? Without getting paid. And they all have affiliate programs. Like, why was I not doing that? And so it might seem silly for us to do this, but we practice what we preach here. And these are 4 of the tools we use in our business on an ongoing daily basis that helps us grow. Now, there's a whole lot of other tools we could talk about, but here's 4 of them that I'd recommend. And ClickFunnels, obviously, for your funnel building, for your automations, for your sales page design, all that kind of stuff. That's ClickFunnels. Munch is amazing for automating like videos with the captions and those types of things. It's such a powerful tool. Aweber is needed for that lead capture and being able to capture people's email addresses and send follow-up emails. That's another great way. Aweber is amazing. We use that for our bulk email sends and all that. And then Canva is the tool we use for graphics. And it's like an annual fee for the pro version, but we love it. And we create our presentations in it. We make our graphics in it. We use it for everything. So these are 4 tools. Now, Shreya, you probably have a few more you want to talk about, but these are some of the tools we use.
So these are this is this, you can say it's the starter pack, right? Like if you're just starting, ClickFunnels gives you that foundation. Munch and Canva can help you with the social media to start driving traffic. And then Aweber is there to capture that traffic when you start getting it. So this is like a fantastic, rather than, going and buying 20 different tools, just start with these 4 if you already have it. Like start using them for the same purposes, for those purposes, right? That's all you really need.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, there's so many other tools you could go with. Another one that doesn't have an affiliate link, but it's called Headliner. That's another tool to use that you can automate video creation. Headliner.app. It's a great tool. So there's a few tools we use, but these are the core that we focus on. I would say if there's any tools right now that we're using every day, it's these 4. So that's why I recommend them. That's why we're recommending these. And there's other tools, but it does take time to master them all.
When we talk about automation, you always have to keep in mind you cannot automate too fast. If you do that, you're just going to create waste in your process. So you have to figure out what your process is, and we've laid down the process for you as far as what type of things you need for foundation, what type of things you need for the traffic piece, and what type of things you need for the engagement piece. So now you just need to go create those little pieces, and these tools can help you create those pieces from the foundation, traffic, and engagement standpoint. But if you automate something, get a software that helps you get traffic, or those are all noise. It's all noise that comes in and kind of puts in waste within your process. So think through this, and this is really all you need to get started.
Yeah, it really is. And these are the simplest tools to get going. Now, we don't have a homework assignment this week because, well, I think a lot of this goes back to what we've already talked about. If you're not ready to scale, the homework assignment I would say is review everything we've already done, because you're not at a point of scale if you haven't done those other things, right? So you can't scale unless you've reviewed that training and your business is set up where it needs to go. But this training hopefully gave you some clarity around this big buzzword that gurus like to throw around to scare you. And that is, the key of scale. It's really just
review everything that you have so far with scalability in mind, because now you can think about it differently than you did in the past when you were just trying to focus on one product. How can you bring in continuity? How can you like, what if you were not saying that you're doing it right now, but if you were to take a little piece out and give it to somebody else, whether you're hiring or getting a strategic partner, what would that be? So kind of start thinking through those things while you're designing the entire funnel.
That's a brilliant point, and very, very important for you as you build that out. So it's a lot to take in. We understand it is a lot to take in, but bite-sized chunks. How do you eat an elephant? It's one bite at a time. And hopefully the whole point of Business Acceleration Formula is to truly make it as simple for you to understand the business world and make you realize that it's doable and possible without overwhelming you too much, but also giving you the truth. I mean, that's kind of, we're straight shooters. We aren't going to sugarcoat it. We're going to tell you that it's not easy. We're going to tell you the things that, but if you stick it out, we know it can work, and it worked for a lot of people that we've worked with, and we see it help so many people.